familiarity can become a cloud of darkness that cover your heart, that you cannot be able to see God. I told them where I went, our brother did praise, and I went there and see people that are familiar with God, people that have become mate with God. So while the praises was going on, everybody was like, this is not, we have been seeing those things. So nothing you do that moves them, nothing about God that you introduce to the place that moves them. They have become familiar with God. There is no that consciousness again. That consciousness that makes a faith of a man to be able to perceive the presence of God is no longer there. And I did my head like this and said, God forbid, I can never walk with such generation who have lost the consciousness of God. Because without that consciousness, you cannot be able to see the presence of God. Is somebody hearing me?
Yes.
I begin to tell them, familiarity. Nobody, if you are becoming familiar in nature, in the relationship with God, even the relationship with man, nobody that have familiarity, a mentality that can maintain any relationship, both in God and man. If you are too familiar with things, you can never maintain those things in life. If you are too familiar in relationship, you can never maintain relationship. I have never seen a man that are too familiar that are maintaining the how will I say it? That love in the relationship. You can't. You can't. So one of the way to maintain the relationship with God is that you must be careful about becoming familiar with God. It has made the children of God standing before God's presence, yet without seeing God's presence. Over familiarity. And I begin to tell them, I remember years ago, when we received Holy Communion in the Catholic Church, the first day we received Holy Communion, if you see the way we are walking before the altar, in fact, while you are walking, you'll be thinking, is there any sin you have not confessed that you might even receive this Holy Communion and stumble? You'll be very conscious. And while you are walking before the altar, you'll be counting your steps. Counting your steps. Because the blessing you are receiving is newly in your heart. So you want to really know what it's all about. That consciousness becomes there. And because of that consciousness, you can able to know the importance of what you are receiving. But today, many grow familiar with that. That somebody will be in the church going to receive the Holy Communion, chewing chewing-gum. And when he get to his turn, he put the chewing-gum in his hands and receive Holy Communion. And chewing it as if he's chewing chewing-gum. And get to his seat and be looking. This is what we do. And when we get our seat, we sit down and pray. When you become familiar with anything with God, you will lose the strength and the sensitivity of God. You will never perceive. That is why you look like the testimony people used to give in the church is a testimony when they encounter God new. Do you know why? Because there is that consciousness. In the church of Old Testament, that is why God created a spiritual system to keep their consciousness because of their heart. That before you enter in the Holy of Holies, you have to be careful. You might even enter there without coming back. Is somebody hearing me? There is a place called outer court and the Holy of Holies. Before you even enter the outer court, you have to be sure of yourself. And a priest enter the Holy of Holies once in a year. And before that priest enter that place, he have to prepare 3 months ahead. And when he prepared, they will put a bell and put a rope tied on his head waist. When he's entered into the Holies of Holies, he will be going around, that bell will be ringing. If that bell stop ringing, they will have to check it to know whether he's alive. If he still shake, they know he's alive. If he didn't respond, they will drag the rope out. They know that one has gone. Many entered there, they could not come out. They entered it. So there is a consciousness in the church of the old. The church Moses had anchored in the wilderness. There was a consciousness. You can't enter there and come out. I hope you know what killed a king in Israel called Uzziah. Uzziah entered into the temple, into the altar, and began to make a sacrifice. The position of a priest, he took over. While he was there, leprosy powdered upon his body. He came out and he couldn't survive. With all his wealth and his physicians, they couldn't recover him. He died. So everybody before you come in the presence of God, there will be consciousness. Today, Jesus wants that consciousness not to be in fear, but to be in love. So that is why he teared that Holy of Holies and made the church to have that consciousness in their hearts. But because of familiarity, we are not able to bring that consciousness. That is what makes the church to be able to see the presence. The presence of God is within us, but it takes the level of your consciousness and your fear of God to be able to see it.